think it is a mixed bag from the perspective of those of us who oppose net neutrality regulation in the Commission's decision. We could have hoped for a more complete victory. We didn't get that, but I would say that if I had to say whether on the whole I think it's better or worse from the perspective of the net neutrality proponents, I'd have to say that it's better, and that, you know, on average, I'm pleased with the decision, but recognizing that it's not a total victory by any means. On the plus side, the court vacated, of course, the heart of the net neutrality regulations, the two prongs, the anti-discrimination mandate and the anti-blocking mandate, and it did that on the basis that, in essence, those two requirements made the ISPs, in effect, into common carriers, and it said that the FCC lacks authority to convert the internet providers into common carriage. Common carriage regulation, of course, is the same type of regulation that was applied actually initially to the railroads back in 1887, and then to the Bell system monopoly throughout a good part of the 20th century as under the Communications Act. And you know, however appropriate that type of common carrier regulation might be in a monopolistic environment, from my perspective, it's not appropriate in a digital environment where there's competition and where the technologies are changing so quickly. The notion that the Commission should or could reclassify the internet service providers as telecommunications carriers is one. Of course, there is a lot of push to do that, and there has been throughout from the so-called public interest groups and consumer groups. I'm not sure that the majority of the vast majority of consumers really subscribe to any of this. But look, ultimately, if the Commission decides it wants to go that route, I think its chances as a legal matter of accomplishing that ultimately would be quite good. Now, let me hasten to add right now, I don't think, you know, the Commission should go that route. It doesn't make any sense. It would be really almost difficult to imagine the Commission would impose this traditional public utility type regulation. The court, as we've discussed, did say that the Commission had some authority under 706 to oversee broadband practices. That I'm sure is some comfort to the Commission, and I understand that. So what I think it ought to do is just watch the market develop. If people bring it complaints, I think it can decide then how to decide those complaints. I mean, ultimately, if it proceeds on the basis of adjudicating individual complaints, which is the way that I think it ought to proceed going forward, rather than adopting another replacement rule, it's going to have to articulate a standard. It can't willy-nilly decide cases after a standard. But I think when it does that, that it really ought to go back and look at Judge Silberman's opinion closely, and it ought to tie the decision as to whether there's been an abuse that it seeks to remedy to findings of the exercise of market power in a way that harms consumers. So that's the approach that I'd like to see the Commission take.